Hello. Just got 1 more minute until it's past or so, and then we'll get started. So we've got 3 more characters we're going to draw today. We've got SpiderMan, which we're going to do first, and then we're going to do Simba from The Lion King, and then we're going to do Smithers from The Simpsons. That's Mr. Burns's sidekick or helper. So starting with our Sharpie, we're going to begin with Spider-Man. I've not drawn Spider-Man for a while actually. I used to enjoy drawing Spider-Man. So we're going to start with his head, and it's just slightly offset over to the left and just over 3/4 of the way up the page. So what we're going to draw is we're going to draw a it's sort of an egg shape. Comes to a rounded point at the bottom. And then over at the top. I guess it looks a little bit like, you know, those alien faces that you see nowadays with the great big eyes. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So Spider-Man's eyes are almost a tear shape. And we've got a slightly thicker part at the top there. And then similar on the other side. And then we can just thicken that line up a little bit on part of the edge around there. So right in the centre where these two eyes sort of meet, we've got a circular part of the web. So coming off of that, now we're going to draw some curved lines. Now they're going to curve up at the back because that's going to give us the sense of shape to his head. And then we have a couple that come off from the bottom as well. And then a couple behind the eyes. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to do this web pattern. So we're going to do these curved lines, and they actually match up with the curved line on the next line of the web. So just take your time getting those in the right place. And they curve towards the outside of the head. Okay, so working off from there, we can see Spider-Man's shoulder, or part of his shoulder into his chest. And then there's a couple of slight bulges, which I guess are muscles in his body coming around. And then his other arm is coming towards us. So this is his hand, and he's obviously just released one of his webs from his hand. So we have him with his 2 middle fingers in towards his palm of his hand, these two here, and his index finger and little finger are sort of pointing outwards, and his thumb as well. So we have that kind of look there. And then we've got, again, these webs on his suit. The ones on his palms come straight down here. We have some on his thumb. Don't put them too close together. There is a good amount of space in between the lines. And they about match up on the other finger there. Okay, so working our way back now slightly, we've got these two parts of his arm and then into his body, which is sort of bending. Let's get that second arm in. So we can see a very, very small arm holding onto one of the webs. So that's part of his arm there. And then we've got the thumb and his fingers in there. And then we've got a web that he's actually holding on to. So we continue this bulge of the shoulder round, and that comes down as part of his outfit. And this is his sort of, it looks almost like a belt that he's wearing. So in the center of his chest, we have a spider. With 8 legs, 2 on each side at the top, 2 on each side at the bottom. And then we're going to just fill in some of the webbing, similar to what's on his face. We've just got a couple of contours there that indicate his neck going around into his shoulder. Just putting these initial lines down on this right hand stripe, and then we will continue them across the rest of his body. As they go around to the left side as we're looking at it, they're just going to be slightly steeper in some places, just to show that the curve of his body is impacting upon the material that this suit is made out of, and it's just distorting that pattern slightly, so it just gives it a slightly more realistic look. Okay, we can see a sort of a line there that just indicates his chest muscle on this side, as his muscles are contracted and rather tight there. So now onto his legs, and his legs are sort of dangling and flying back behind him. That's one of his legs, and his second one is sort of hanging back behind him there. So that's the underside of his foot. And again, we've got this webbing. That we can see behind him. The same on this leg. So it's not all of his leg that's covered in this webbing, it's just sort of almost up to the knees. Just part of the calf muscle really that's covered in the webbing. There we go. So I'm quite happy with that. So there's Spider-Man. That's our first character. So we're going to draw another one of our Simpsons characters. This is Smithers. This is Mr. Burns's helper. We're going to start with the eyes as normal, so quite close to the top, about a 5p piece circle. Now this character's eyes are separated. They're not touching. The nose is separated as well, and then the second eye, the only part that we can't quite see is the bit that's going behind his nose there. So we're going to add some pupils in, and he's got glasses on, so we've got the nose part of the glasses there. The chin is coming down and around. Quite a classic character this is. There's a lot of the same similarities on this one to most of the characters that we've done. So he's got a very straight hairline, and he has this almost wavy line across the top. It's almost a spiky hair. So he has two rectangular eyebrows, and the ear, what the glasses are sitting on, and down into his neck that side, and on this side. So Smithers is wearing a bow tie, so we're going to draw a circle in the middle, and then off of that we're going to do two rounded edged triangles, and we can put a couple of lines in there to indicate the material. He's wearing a blazer top, so a top that you would wear with a suit. So he's obviously wearing a suit, he's wearing his work clothes. And then we can just see his arm behind his back on that side. If we follow the line of the neck down, that gives us the second part of his blazer. It's open, so we can see I don't know what you call that part there. The lapels are up over on your shoulders, I'm not sure. And then we have the other side of his jacket. The bottom of his shirt sits a little bit higher up than the end of that, and we can see, I guess that's where the buttons would be, but there aren't any buttons on this. So his second arm again is sitting behind his back, so all we see is the shoulder coming into the elbow, and his hands are behind his back. And his legs, very simple shaped legs really. They get slightly thinner towards the end, but not hugely. And he has some work shoes on, so he's very smart. And we can just see his socks coming through. And the other one's very similar. And we can see the little heel on his shoe comes down into a relatively pointed end. And his socks coming through. Okay, there's Smithers. Quite a nice character, quite simple, not a lot of detail there. So, third character. We're going to draw Simba from Lion King. Okay, so we're going to start with, we're going to work from the nose and work our way out. So the nose is that kind of shape. It's a flattened V, it's a fat V shape, and we can see nostrils just at the bottom there and there. Now coming off from the nose, we're going to just draw a couple of lines that just diagonally go up, and from there we're going to do the shape of the eyes. So that's the outer part of the eye. We then have a circle within that, and then the pupil. So make sure those lines are separated, and the pupil is coloured in black. Again, like all of the other drawings, we're just going to leave a small section white. So the second eye is sitting to the left of the nose. And we've got a slightly different shape, so it looks like he's sort of raising one eyebrow or raising this side eyebrow, which is just sitting above that. And colour the pupil in, leaving a white dot in there. And there's his second eye. So this eye's slightly raised, this one's slightly lower down. So almost in the centre, we're going to draw a little bit of hair and fur coming down into these ears that come down and around onto that side. Simba's cheek comes out at an angle there. We can just see a few whiskers coming out of there. This outer edge here of the ear is black, so we're just going to quickly fill that in. A couple of hairs on there, and then the second ear, similar shapes, just the mirror image. And down into the side of the face on that side as well. We have that same corresponding black area on the outer edge of his ear. And we can also see just a few straggly hairs coming out at the side there. So from the middle of Simba's nose, we're going to draw his mouth now. So we have this line that comes down, and then he has this furry chin that comes up and meets the mouth on that side. Okay, so working on this left side, this is coming into one of Simba's shoulders and then into his chest, the part of his body there. His second leg starts just to the left of the mouth and then comes down and in front of this leg here. So what we can now see is this part of Simba's chest. I guess this would be a different colour to the rest of his chest. We've got a few whiskers that come out there and there as well. So the second part of this shoulder is directly underneath the right hand side of the mouth, so we're just going to get that shape in, and then a diagonal line down into a slightly flatter line and then a straight line down. So this is now going to be Simba's, one of his back legs. That's the elbow of this leg, if that's what they call it on lions and cats and animals like that, but it looks like an elbow. It's the joint. And then we can see these big paws. So this paw at the front is rather big because it's the closest thing to us. And then we can see the belly or the bottom of Simba's body there. This would be his other rear leg. We've got the underside of his tummy, which again would be that fur that's a slightly different colour. And then this foot is facing more towards us, so we're getting a different look at Simba's foot there. And there's his toes on there. And then we have a curved tail curving back on itself. It starts slightly thicker and gets a little bit thinner towards the end. And then we've got this bushy tail. And that, I believe, is completed. So 3 more drawings today, 3 different characters. So we did SpiderMan and Smithers from The Simpsons and also Simba. Thanks for joining me. Again, I'll see you after the weekend, so it's Friday, so we've got at least another 2 weeks of this. Don't forget to get mums or dads or somebody to send me a picture of your work. I love seeing what you've been doing. Thanks so much for joining me. It's been fun. Go and enjoy the sun now for another day. I don't know how much longer we're going to have this lovely weather, but it's been great drawing, and I'll see you after the weekend. Bye.